Right, week 4 reflection. What happened this week? So, on Monday we had Leanne and we focused on screen acting. So, the way Leanne's lesson went was we did screen acting. So, imagine this chair is a camera. So, there's a camera here, and essentially the script is, and it's not really much of a script, the script is you're watching TV, okay? You're watching TV. You look over at your phone, which is directly next to the TV. You walk over, and as you're walking over to your phone, you hear a massive bang on the wall next to you. And at that moment in time, as you do the walk, you hear the bang. You got to tilt your head, and then you just got to ease it, and then you just shrug it off. Pick up the phone, and then there's a little script that goes, "Hey, how are you? Yeah, I'm doing well. Blah blah blah." It's very simple. However, because it's screen acting, it could be considered not as simple, if you know what I mean. So even though it is simple, in a way it can be quite complex. Because me personally, I'm not much of a screen actor. I am theatre all the way. I'm a big theatre actor, not much of a screen actor. So how do I think I did in that? So what went well in that little thing that we did with Leanne involving screen acting? I remember we had one practice tries and then we had 3 like real tries, and overall I think I did okay. From my point of view, I think I did much better than what was actually shown on camera. But it is what it is. This kind of stuff happens, and well, you do what you do. What I think was good, I think my voice projection was good. That's what I think. My voice projection was good. I think my my voice impression is just really my voice, really. And my naturalistic view of the TV at first, when I did it from this position. So when I was viewing the TV, I did it from this position. That was quite naturalistic. That was a good one. But EBI, there's a lot to do. A lot of EBIs, I could have just be more simple. I need to really be forgetting in screen acting, less is more in screen acting. And that is something I really need to get the hang of, because I'm just so big into theatre. I'm so used to being such a big actor that it's so tough for me to just be quite small. Another thing as well, I just got to be relaxed. I was so tensed up the whole time. Got to be relaxed. I got to say in my mind, I can do this. Another thing I could have done was facial expressions, like naturalistic facial expressions, like maybe looking up, or even even motions, like doing back my hair to show casualness, or just being more casual with the whole thing, because I really overthink with what I do. But those are quite a lot of improvements. I still need to improve quite a lot on screen acting, but yeah, that was good fun. And on Tuesday of that week, I believe we were with Ryan, and we explored quite a bit about and I believe with Ryan we explored quite a bit about our monologues, and how we were able to emphasize into our monologues, etc., etc., etc. And that's pretty much all we did, really. As well, we had a cool sweat session on Tuesday. Nothing really happened much on Tuesday, but on Wednesday, not Wednesday, on Thursday, quite a lot of stuff happened. So the first thing that happened on Wednesday was with Ryan, where we played a little bit of a motion game where we all sat down, and so essentially I think there's about 15 of us in the class. So 14 of us sat down on chairs, one person stood up, and essentially out of the 14 chairs, out of the 14 people sitting down, if you clock eye someone, or if you call out someone's name that is also being sat down, you have to swap places. And it's just a really good movement game, and I absolutely love doing it. It gets the ADHD out a bit. And me personally, I find it quite a lot of fun. That was what we did first time. And then with Hayley, we did a scene with Hayley called, I can't even remember what it's called. Got out of my head. But I remember we did a scene with Hayley in period 2 I did mine with a group of boys, and it was the same scene that we did actually quite a few weeks ago, where I believe there is a star boxer, there's a coach, there is another boxer, but he's more of an idiot. There is a girl, but she acts as a very tough girl, so she's a tough girl, and there is a neek. And I played the neek, so I played a bit of a geek, I was the neek, and essentially, it was theatre, so it was definitely my strength, and the thing is, in the scene, my character does get bullied, and I need to really emphasize the fact that, okay, my character is getting bullied. How am I gonna do this? Okay, I've got an idea. And the thing is, I'm more casual with theatre, so I was able to be a lot more naturalistic with it. So For example, in the scene, I get confronted and I get shoved to the floor. So when I did that, get shoved to the floor, shoving to the floor, not an issue. But also something, well, I did was I kind of also got into my head, okay, what else am I going to do when I get shoved to the floor? Like, I would just be closed off. I wouldn't really chat to anyone, and that's exactly what my character did. I was very closed off. I even showed it in my actions, like I was kind of in a ball. Well, not really much of a ball. I was just sitting down, like, crossed my legs like this, and that's exactly what I'd done, really. And that was a big strength of mine. A lot of improvements I could have made. I had quite the character that didn't have a lot of lines, but was on stage quite a bit. So I definitely need to work on my my offline acting quite a bit. I feel that's something I need to work on. But hey, it is what it is, and that's something I need to work on. And maybe just been more naturalistic with the whole thing. You know, there's always stuff to improve on that sense. And then later on in that day, on Wednesday, we had a little workshop that we did with the year ones and the level fours. So the level fours, directed us. The level fours directed us, and my year, the year twos and the year ones were with the level fours, and essentially we did a 3-character scene where I believe the characters were called, and I'm pretty sure as well I did a separate video on this workshop, and we've gone into real depth and emphasis. I'm pretty sure the ones were called. It was called. The characters were Mickey, Jonathan, and Oscar. Okay, no, Mickey, Johnny, Oscar. There we go. And I played the character of Oscar, and essentially, Mickey. I'll give you a quick depth on the characters. Mickey and Oscar are somewhat friends. Mickey has helped Oscar in the past. However, Mickey is afraid of, you know, being bullied himself. So he doesn't really socialize with Oscar in front of other people. And some depth here, Oscar is a loser. Oscar gets bullied in the show. And Johnny is the big bully. And I played the role of Oscar, so essentially I had to be a bit of a victim, which is something I'm apparently good at because I did that earlier that day. So a bit of a victim, you know, I had to play the real card here. I've even got a video of it as well, I believe. Yep, I do have a video of it as well that I will definitely be inserting onto the coursework as well. I'll put that likely under production, and I will be showing some what went well and some EBIs. But a big what went well for me, voice. Voice was superb. Voice is always superb. The emotion was superb. The desperation in my voice was superb. Even better if more movement. I could have definitely had a lot more movement. Like, the thing is with me, I was just sat down in one space a lot, and I feel like that's quite, with me, I find that quite boring. Like, even though I'm a bit of a loser, even though I'm getting picked on, I could do some sort of stuff. Could maybe move my arms, my legs, do a bit more facial expressions, move my head a little bit. I could have done a lot more, but I was mostly sat in one space, and that was definitely a big EBI for me. Just be a bit more frantic with it, you know, just be a bit more movement, you know, be a bit more engaging towards the audience. But it was a serious scene, so it is what it is. And well, yeah. And then on on Friday with Ryan, we did definitely some interesting games. Interested exercises. We did something called molding, where we where we had a chair and we kind of molded it into our character. So for example, how would our character walk? How would they get onto a chair? How would they really motion themselves to get out of the chair? How would they jump? How would they smile? How would they laugh? How would they greet others? How would our character from any sort of monologue do that? So bear in mind, when I say character, I mean out of the 4 monologues we have to memorize throughout the term, I'm talking about one of those characters. So I picked one of them, and it was quite different. It's something I've never really done before. And then I remember after that, we played a little bit of a fun game where we had to kind of use our senses to direct ourselves throughout the room. So the way it goes, there are 2 people in a circle. Those 2 people are blindfolded, spun around, and there are 2 paper swords in the circle, and they've got to find them and hit each other with it. The first person to hit each other with it wins. And I found that quite interesting because it was a good use of not using your eyes, using your ears, using your mouth, using your senses, and really using your senses to direct movement. And I actually did a lot better than I thought. Out of the 2 rounds I did, I won them both, which I'm quite proud of. But at the same time, you know, it's just a game. Nothing really much to be proud of. But yeah, I believe that is everything done out for this term, you know. Most EVIs just be more naturalistic, especially with screen acting. I need to work on my screen acting a lot more. And, well, yeah, that's something I really need to just get down, screen acting. And, well, my voice is always just on point, really. But this is... My show of emotion, I think, was good as well overall this time in terms of any of my acting practicals. So, yeah, I think that's it for week 4. Sweet.